Welcome to another episode of No Further Limits. In this podcast, we explore stories of resilience, hope, and faith. Our guest today is a powerful leader, a husband, and a father. We are saying he's powerful because he grew up without a biological father. His story will help us understand how we can navigate life even without this important person, the foundation of a man or a woman. Without further ado, let me welcome our guest to introduce himself and tell us what he does. Karibu.
Thank you very much. My name is Mwalimu Michael Gashohi. I'm a born-again Christian. As he rightly said, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a leader. I've offered my leadership both amongst the teachers, Kupet, County Chairman Nakuru, and elsewhere in the church. And I'm very, very passionate about value-based leadership. I've also tried, I was an aspirant in 2022 for the seat of the Senator Nakuru, again to offer value-based leadership. So thank you for having me.
You are welcome. As we start, kindly tell us about your childhood upbringing and the challenges that you faced while growing up.
Thank you. Maybe right from the beginning, as we start that, I would want to say that I have actually documented my story. First, there is a CD, you know those whatever that we used to do, eh?
Yes.
I don't know whether they are still fashionable, but we did a CD sometimes back.
Yes.
I wrote it, The Prayer of Jabez, but basically this is my story and the story of Gilbert Sang, with whom we did that.
Yes.
He's one of my the sons that I brought up. Probably it will come later.
Yes.
I've also told my story in this book, Fire Rain, The Effects of Prayer.
Yes.
And this one here is a compilation of testimonies. And one of them that is mine, how I grew up and all that.
Yes.
And then along the way, because this one here was not meant to do that, to tell my story per se.
Yes.
It only tells me, it is the story where I feel this one here was an answer to prayer.
Yes.
Then later on, I have had several occasions of speaking to single mothers.
Yes.
And therefore, out of the whatever I was doing, I wrote Navigating Parenting as a Single Mother.
Yes.
So these are two books that I have out of my story.
Yes.
As I was born and brought up by a single mother. As the fourth born, her fourth born. But one of them, the one who was ahead of me, had passed on. So most people think that I'm the third born because he passed on at an early age. And we grew up in a village, literary village, forest village.
Yes.
And my auntie, my grandfather, my grandparents, that is maternal grandparents, my auntie, my uncle were living in the same village. So in the village, there wasn't much as such. And then around when I was going to grade 2, my mother got a job with the Kabazi Canning Factory. By then, Kabazi Canning Factory was working very well.
Yes.
So she got a job there and she'd leave very, very early in the morning and come back very late in the evening. And therefore, after my grandfather passed on, my grandmother now went to live with one of our sons in a farm in Kuresoi North. And my mother thought that instead of me leaving the children on their own from early in the morning, coming back in the night, why don't I take them to my mother? That's my grandmother.
Yes.
We were taken to our grandmother. But remember, he was staying with my uncle.
Yes.
In the same compound. She had her own shambas and so on. We would help in everything, just like any other child was doing.
Yes.
And it was not much of a problem growing up because there was much food and so on in the show and so on. But there were two things that later on at that time, I came to learn that there is something different from us. People would always ask, who is your father? And I did not have an answer to that. And then the other thing is that we realized that whenever there was any wrongdoing amongst us and the children of the firstborn of my uncle was my age.
Yes.
I was actually 3 months older than him. But whenever there was a mistake, the kind of punishment, actually beating, let me put it that way, beating that would be meted on us was much more than on his children. Sometimes would actually be beaten because of his children.
Wow.
His children have made a mistake, but now it is us to get the punishment.
Yes.
And along the way, my sister, the elder brother, and my elder sister, they had to go back to my mother. By then, she had now moved again from Kambazi. She had gone to Jomo Kenyatta Secondary School as a cook.
Yes.
So they went to stay with her, and that interfered. There were so many things there that I may not talk about them. But particularly my brother and my sister stopped schooling in grade 5 or standard 5.
Yes.
And that definitely affected their lives up to now. For my brother, my sister passed on later on. And she died as a single mother also.
Sorry for that.
And one of the things is that she was a very, very bitter person. She died. I always, in my book, this one here, I've told her story.
Yes.
And I said that one of the causes of her behavior that probably eventually led to her passing on was actually bitterness. She was very bitter because of the way she was treated by my mother. She was very bitter because of the way she was treated by my uncle. And the meat of my mother, maybe that one I can mention, because I have said it before. What some of us went through in terms of discipline is actually, today it would not be called discipline.
This capital punishment.
It would be called child abuse.
Wow.
Because the beating was serious, excessive.
Yes.
It was disproportionate.
To the mistake you've done.
Yeah. My mother would actually get hold of your thighs. Not with kuchuna ile namna, but with the hand like this, lift you up here, drop you. And do that several times. If at all she finds that like you're not feeling little pain, she would literally bite you. Anakuma.
Yes.
And one of the things that later on we have settled very well with my mother, even as I talk about that, you can see in I don't have it.
Yes.
But one of the things that I came to realize that it was not easy for a young mother. My brother was born when my mother was 16.
Wow. Very young.
I was born when, as the fourth now,
Yes.
I was born when she was 24.
Yes.
24. When she was 24. In most cases, that should have been the firstborn.
Yes.
And there were those men who were the fathers of the children. At one time, she got married before I was born, and so on, and later on separated as a third wife. And she was almost poisoned when she was giving birth. And my grandfather said, instead of losing my daughter, she better come back home.
Yes.
So she was very bitter. She was a bitter woman. And when she looks at this child, who is reminding her probably of what this man, particularly later on when we came to discover, because I eventually, that some of us resembled our fathers. So she's looking at this fellow who resembles the father and seeing, that is brought a lot of bitterness. And some of the beatings today, I understand, psychologically, it was out of that bitterness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So, but we grew up. Later on, I have, as I said in the story, it's a long story. I don't want to talk about it right now. But we later on moved to Laikipia.
Okay.
Some shambas that have been given there. And there was a lot of problems, a lot of poverty, too much poverty. That's why I had actually documented where I am and who I am is simply purely by the grace of God.
Yes.
But otherwise, there was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of hardship. Getting food was very hard. The other part of my life, getting food was not a problem. But from around when I was in around grade 4 onwards, up to the time that I was finishing Form 6, the kind of that portion of my life was a life of a lot of poverty. Too much poverty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that lengthy introduction. But you've really covered a lot of things concerning your life. You said that you've been raised by a single mother.
Yes.
At what point in life did you discover that your family setup is different? That the father is your real father, biological father, is not present?
As I said earlier, is when we started going to school.
Okay.
You know, they're in the village, when we are with my auntie, my uncle, and everybody, there was no issue. But when you now go to school, and then other children are being asked, who is your father? And or the name of the father and the mother.
Yes.
And then yours is only the name of the mother. Luckily enough, in the village, they knew our family, and therefore they would not bother asking. But other children would ask,
yes,
and who is your father? And that question was a bother.
Yes.
It was a bother because it has, I said right from the beginning that my name is Mwalimu.
Yes.
Maybe I can talk about my...
We will get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
And you said you got to discover or to know that your family setup is different through children who are asking you about your father.
Your father, yes.
Could you have like an example that one day something happened and it really bothered you, that question?
Oh, of course, it was always a bother. It was always a bother. I can't remember very well whether I asked my mom who that question.
Yes.
But there is one time that I remember very well. Much later. That's
Yes.
the one that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
When I was in around, I think, class 6 thereabout.
Yes.
That should have been around 1979. And that means, therefore, that I was around the age of 13, starting adolescence.
Yes.
And I remember my brother asking my mother, then who is my father? And my mother said it. My mother gave my brother the name. And somehow, even at that age, I could be able to almost tell. I almost wondered whether we are of the same father. So I asked my mom,
Yes.
what about me? And my mother, yes. And my mother said, Cindy, huyo. He's the same person. And, you tell children something and they swallow that.
Yes.
And I never commented, I never said anything until much later. Now, when I'm now in Form 3, in Form 3, I guess I was around the age of around 17 or thereabout, in Form 3. And when I reached there, we were registering for, ours was called KCE, Kenya Certificate of Education.
Yes.
So I'm registering for that because it used to be registered in Form 3. And when everybody else, because although it was not an issue, many times I would be asked, who is your father? Even in school, even in high school.
Yes.
Or maybe because I had a lot of problems, as I have said, in payment of school fees. I would be asked, do you have a father? And my story was, I created my own narrative. My narrative was, my father died. Yeah, that's the narrative. Because there was a lot of stigma.
Yes.
By then I was conscious of that. There was a lot of stigma growing up, being known as a child of a single mother.
Yes.
Unlike these days when we have even women giving their boy child, their names as their surname.
Yes.
So at that time, I remember registering that my name, because when my brother asked, who is your name? Who is my father? He was told the name Cyrus Kimani. I can remember the conversation and how we were and where we were and how we were seated, almost the angles to this day.
Yes.
And I remember he said it's Cyrus Kimani. And now when he said Cyrus Kimani, when I was now registering in Form 4, with all this trauma,
Yes.
I did not want to use my, although I would have used the same names that I had used for CPE.
Yes.
Michael, Dongo, Gashohi. I now decided, because Dongo and Gashohi, both of them are my names,
Yes.
I decided to write Michael, Gashohi, Kimani. Now, Kimani being my father, because every child in adolescence in particular,
Yes.
there is an issue of identity. And this issue of identity is so strong. I normally tell people and I've talked about it in my second book, Navigating Parenting as a Single Mother. I have said this is the thing that made one Harvard-trained lawyer, young lawyer, take a plane ticket from Illinois in the USA, or fly to Kenya, Africa, then take a bus all the way to a village in Nyanza called Kogero.
Yes.
He was not going there because he wanted to actually in any way benefit from those people. He was going because of something we call identity.
Yes.
He was going there because he wanted to find his roots.
Yes.
And that thing is so powerful that many people just look at it. So for me, it was, my father's name is Kimani.
Yes.
Let me write that. So I went home and told my mom that I registered Michael Gashohi Kimani. And of course, the problem with telling a lie is that you have to remember what you said.
Yes.
Because if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. But when you tell a lie, you have to remember everything. Then at that time, my mother asked, Kimani, no. That is Kikuyu asking, Kimani ni nani?
Yes. Who is Kimani?
Who is Kimani? And then that thing hit me like a thunderbolt.
Yes.
It hit me. It's like being blown on your stomach.
Yes.
And air is going out.
Wow.
Because that told me
Yes.
that whatever she had told me was a lie.
Yes.
And I told her that that's what you told me. That of course, now at that age, she could no longer beat us.
Yes.
We are grown up. So I told her, you told me that. And now I want you to tell me who my father is.
Before you go there,
Yeah.
I'll want to take you back. You said your name is Mwalimu Michael Gashohi.
Yes.
This name Mwalimu is very unique. Not many people have that name. The only Mwalimu that I can really recall is Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, the first president of the Republic of Tanzania.
And I'm not very sure that his official name was actually Mwalimu.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not very sure.
And therefore, was this name given to you from birth or you acquired it later in life?
Much later in life.
Oh,
Of course, I became a teacher.
Yes.
By choice.
Yes.
I became a teacher by choice, went and started teaching, and everybody knew me as Mwalimu. Then I realized, I learned later, much later, that you can do a deed poll to change your name. That name that was in my certificates, all my certificates, of course now I've registered Form 4.
Yes.
As Kimani, as my surname.
Yes.
Then I go to Form 6, I have to use the same name. And therefore the certificate also bore Kimani.
Yes.
I go to the university and my degree certificate bears the name Kimani. I even did my master's degree and it bears Kimani. But this one here was always a bother to me.
Yes.
In fact, very few people ever came to know that I was referred to by that name because I would never introduce myself as such. It's only in official documents where the name was.
Okay.
But I would always introduce myself as Mwalimu Michael Gashohi. That time, the name Mwalimu was not part of my official documents. But I later on came to learn that you can do a deed poll and change the name. And I was assisted by one of my friends who is a lawyer.
Yes.
And I did a deed poll. And therefore, my name was changed officially
to
Mwalimu. So the name was not given by my parents or by my mother.
Yes.
I acquired the name for myself. And I'm very proud to be so.
To be called Mwalimu.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Something else that you are bringing up is that you are brought up, you are a single mother. And this keeps me wondering, were there men who stood in as father figures in your life when you were growing up?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no, because the man that I think would have stepped in very well, now that we have been taken to my grandmother's.
Yes.
And my grandmother is staying in the same compound. We actually were sleeping and everything. Even provisions were by my grandmother. But my uncle was in the same compound. Yes. I think he would have stepped in very well as a what? As a father. But those days, there was this issue of anger by the sons why their sisters are not get married. Because, in the Kikuyu custom is that somebody would even be told when they are young,
yes,
your dowry will come from this girl.
Yes.
Your dowry will come from this girl. So you are told the sister is not bringing in dowry,
yes,
then that ni hasara. It's like a loss to them.
Yes.
So what they would do is he never stepped in. If anything, whatever we went through his hands, he's there and I've forgiven him. But that I don't talk about that with in any form of bitterness. But and he's the uncle with, after whom I'm named. But there was nothing like that. The only time that later on I came to have the touch of a father is much, much later, around the year 2000. The year 2000, I was already around going to 40. And around that time, I had a man that I met in church. And I don't know for what reason. He was actually kind of the age, because his children were my age mates, some of them. That is the only man that ever acted like a father. He passed on, and I really felt it deep. Because he would actually call me to his house. We would sit, not for anything, he would sit down and talk with me and find out from me, how are you moving on? And sometimes he would actually visit his relatives in central Kenya and then come with some of the produce from that things,
Yes.
things like arrowroots and all that. And very early in the morning come to my house and say, I brought you this. I felt the touch of a father through him.
Yes.
But now I'm talking about my 40s, my 50s.
Yes.
But there before, when I was growing up, there was literally nobody. Yeah.
There is this thing that people believe in usually, that if a single woman is bringing up children, when they are of age, they are advised to take those children, if they are boys, to their uncles to be trained. Does that really work according to you?
In my view, it may or may not. It may or may not, because if the uncle to these children is somebody who loves them, is somebody who loves their sister. Like, for example, I've taken care of my sister's children. I have told you my sister never got married.
Yes.
And I've taken care of them, and I love them. And one of them lives with a disability. He's autistic. But I love those children. So it depends. But there are some people who actually mistreat those children. Sometimes it is better the mother taking care of her own children than being taken care of by relatives. There are several decisions along the way that I made as a result of what I went through. One of the decisions that I made is that I will never have my children being brought up by anybody else.
That's powerful.
I made that because of what we went through.
Okay.
And I'm happy that my children are now grown up, and I've never taken them to a relative. I've taken care of them. That's one of the decisions that I made.
Yes.
And of course, when I was young, at least in adolescence and so on, there were some boys messing up with girls. At that time, even before I was born again, I actually said that, and I purposed that I would not go around messing up with girls, because it might end up in pregnancy.
Yes.
It might end up with a child growing up without a father. And those are some of the decisions that I made as a young person, and I thank God by His grace I have kept. Now, to me, instead of necessarily, and I think it is good if at all this mother who is bringing up sons can take them either to a relative or somebody else where they can connect, including, like, for example, I brought up some men. In fact, when we were doing this with Gilbert Sang,
Yes.
Gilbert Sang, even wherever he is, now he's a pastor doing his PhD. He says, this is my dad. I was the one who actually went even for his what do you call it? Negotiations.
Yes.
Dowry negotiations.
Yes.
I'm the one who held his hand, taking him down the aisle
Yes.
when he was getting married.
Wow.
So I have acted as a father. He's not even from the same community as I am.
Yes.
He's a Kalenjin, I'm a Kikuyu.
Yes.
But I have had several children that I have actually personally kind of mentored. I would want to say that if there is somebody who is responsible enough,
Yes.
somebody caring enough, somebody either in the church or in the neighborhood
Yes.
or in amongst the relatives who can actually train these young people in manhood, so to say, then the better.
Yes.
If not, the mother bringing up boys need not worry. I always say that the Bible says very clearly that I am the father of the fatherless. And therefore you can commit your children to God.
Yes.
And show them the church. And once they are brought up by the father of the fatherless, they
Yes.
shall be all right.
They will be all right.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for that observation.
Yeah.
And you said there was a time that you faced a lot of poverty. At what point did you decide and say, you know what? My future, I'll need to work on it, and my future, I'll change from where I've come from.
That's pretty early. Pretty early because I remember when I was in grade 5,
Yes.
now standard 5, grade 5, same thing.
Yes.
I remember when I was looking after my mother's goats, 4 of them, and I was very hungry. To get food was very hard. I prayed there. My grandmother took me to church when I was in grade 2. And therefore I knew how to pray. And I prayed on, again, I can almost remember, recently.
Yes.
Recently, I took some friends there, somewhere in Laikipia. And I remember sitting on a stone and praying that and telling God, the poverty we are going through here and the problems we are encountering are too much. God, I just ask you of only one thing.
Yes.
Give me education.
Wow.
That I may be able to move away from this kind of poverty. And God has been gracious. Although I've been very slow in doing that,
Yes.
I'm about to get my PhD.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And we are looking forward to your graduation. And
Thank you.
we'll come and celebrate with you. And after making that decision that you'll pursue education and break this poverty cycle, was it easy?
It was actually purely by the grace of God. Again, because by the time that I was taken, that's the story that now I've written in the Fire Rain, The
Yes.
Effects of Prayer.
Yes.
My grandmother prayed over my life and said that told God, though we don't have education, the power to educate this child, give him education until he gets a degree. And I always say that God is the one who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above that which we ask or even imagine.
Yes.
And when I was taken to school, even from day one, I did not have enough fees.
Oh.
And now, again, I don't want to tell the whole story because
Yes.
it's in that book.
Yes.
But I was always sent home. I always, I make jokes over that.
Yes.
I said I would actually go outside the gate of the school was Drumo in Nyahururu. If you take those who are going to take matatus to go wherever we were going,
Yes.
would go to the right. I would go to the left myself as if I'm going to an adjacent village there. But the truth of the matter is that I would walk home 25 kilometers.
Wow.
We would go and do some casual labor with the elder brother. After about a week, I go back with whatever I had already gotten. But in Form 2, I dropped out because of lack of school fees. Form 2, that term, the whole of second term, I was not there. That term, I remember the prayer of my grandmother. I decided to go back to school. That is how come when the head teacher now allowed me to go through school without being sent home.
Yes.
So that's how I went up to Form 4. And I did very well. My grades, my certificates are beautiful.
Yes. Wow.
They have very wonderful grades.
Yes.
And when I went to seek for to check on my performance in Form 4 exam, we met with my head teacher.
Yes.
And he asked me, which school had you selected to go to Form 5? And I said, I had not selected to go to any school.
Wow.
And then he asked me why, because I knew I cannot afford.
Uh-huh.
And then he asked me, why didn't you select our school? For the same reason I could not afford.
Yes.
And then he asked me, why are you here? Because you are affording.
Mm-hmm.
Then he asked me, would you want to go to Form 5 in our school? I said, yes, sir. My mother came to know that I was in high school.
Yes.
Because then the high school was actually Form 5 and Form 6. When I went home in a different uniform,
Yes.
she actually all along thought the whole time I had gone to Nairobi to my sister's.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So when I go home dressed in a different uniform,
Yes.
is when she asked me, you mean you are in a school? Which school?
She didn't know.
She didn't know. So that's how I went up to Form 6 without being sent home.
Yes.
Then I did again very well.
Yes.
I always say I qualified for anything that I could have actually taken using my subjects of maths, chemistry, and biology. But I chose to be a teacher.
Yes.
I chose to be a teacher, having seen what that teacher, the head teacher, Mr. Joe Githogori, Birango Githogori, what he had done in my life, I felt I want to also to do that to somebody else. I want to become a teacher.